Welcome here. My name is Therese. I previously had a comment on one of my videos saying, Sarah, you should do a video all about soups and stews. And I thought, yes, because I'm in the fall mood. I am borderline in Christmas mode. Like that's where I am right now. But I figure with this cozy weather that we're getting on the west coast of Canada, I wanted to not only share with you guys some meals or all the meals for dinner that I made this week, but make it affordable and soups and stews. I'm going to be sharing 4 here. The reason I have 4 and say not 7 for every day of the week is because soups go far. I find I can make a pot of soup and we can enjoy it that day and the next day, or that day and the next day for lunch. You know what I mean? So soup is awesome. It goes a long way. Let's get started here. So I am making a sauerkraut soup. At the beginning of this video, I had half a cup of raw cashews that I poured hot water over. I just want those to soften because they're going to be my cashew cream later for the soup. But I have some other things that I need to tend to before they are completely softened. So to a pot, I'm gonna add in 3 tablespoons about of olive oil, a handful of garlic cloves, mince that up over medium heat. We're just gonna cook that. It's going to start smelling so good. And then you're gonna add in your sausage. I use about half a ring of sausage here. I have 5 kids and it's me and my husband who work at home. So we're constantly in the home eating food, and I like making soups bigger than maybe average. Some soups that I've seen online are, this will feed 2, 3, 4 people. I want my soups to go a long way. So these are pretty good batches, I would say. So I'm gonna add the farmer sausage into the pot. We're gonna keep letting that cook. I'm gonna add in a couple stalks of celery, dice that up really well, and then I'm gonna take an onion. I've done this with a red onion, a sweet onion, a white onion, any onion. I'm gonna do half of it, dice it up, and add it to my pot. We're gonna stir this kind of here and there, but I really wanna see the celery and the onion soften, become a little bit translucent, and then we can move on. Had some yellow potatoes that I decided to dice up as well. I'm leaving the skin on, but just cutting out some certain parts that I would say I don't want in the soup. I'm also going to add in a Tetra Pak or 946 mils of unsalted chicken broth. This is the organic stuff from Costco. It's so great. I don't have any broth in my freezer right now from when I do like chicken carcasses, but these are just great to have on hand. Add that to the pot, add your potatoes to the pot. I'm also gonna add in 2 cups of water to the pot. We're gonna bring this to a boil. While I'm waiting for it to boil, I'm gonna make my cashew cream, which is pretty much just half a cup of cashews and then 1 cup of water. So if you're not dairy free or you don't care for that nutty flavor, you don't have to do this. You can use milk, you can use cream, but I really like a good cashew cream and it makes this recipe dairy free, but I would say cream is kind of optional in this recipe anyways. Put it into your pot, reduce the heat here because you don't want any lumping or separation from high heat with the cashew cream. I'm gonna add in 1 cup of sauerkraut with the brine. This is gonna create just kind of a tangy flavor through the broth. That's amazing. 1 teaspoon of dill, you can do fresh, I'm just doing dry, and then add in some salt and pepper to taste. I also added in some, I don't even know how to say it. Worcestershire sauce. I can always Google it, and it's actually on my list to Google it and learn how to say it properly. Because if you say something silly for so long, it's just natural and you don't care anymore. But I'm starting to care because I'm saying it online. Anyway, bring that to a nice heat. The longer you let this sit, the more tangy it's going to be. But I'm going to serve this kind of right away for a bit of a late lunch here, and then we actually enjoyed it again for dinner. This is delicious. Again, it's a big batch. So we had it for dinner that day, lunch that day, and then we actually enjoyed it for lunch over the next week. It keeps for a long time because of that fermented cabbage in the sauerkraut. And this meal stretched us for 2 dinners, 2 lunches, and it cost me about $30 to make, not even. So I was thrilled with that. The BOTD bedding of the day that my bed is actually constantly wearing is by Brooklinen, which is a luxury sheet company that I have been using for years now. They create superior home goods that will beautify your space and easily transform it seasonally. With autumn and this kind of crisp weather, I wanted my bed to feel cozy, royal, but also like cottagey, let's say. Brought those feels into my bedroom with the Brooklinen Classic Hardcore Sheet bundle in my favorite and my husband's favorite, their Classic Percale sheets. Both my husband and I agree that these sheets have a nostalgic childhood feel to them. They are crisp and cozy and fresh. And with the mix and match feature that Brooklinen has, I am able to customize my bedding to get something that really just suits me and my personality. And I also just think that Brooklinen goes the extra mile. They add things that other bedding companies overlook. They have ties on the corners of all their duvet covers, so you're never actually losing your duvet within the sheet itself, and long and short tags on the inside of your fitted sheet, so you always know what side is supposed to go where. Brooklinen itself stands far above with over 100,000 5-star reviews, and you also just have to take my word for it that these are so dreamy. You can easily shop online for your own Luxe or Classic Hardcore bundle, and you can also use my code Therese. That's gonna save you $20 off your order of $100 or more, so click the link in the description to get started. A couple days later, we're moving on to another soup, which is not a soup, it's a stew. This is a pot roast stew. My new hobby is testing out different roasts, seeing how I like them, different ways to cook them. This one was new to me. It's such a classic, but it's a sirloin tip beef roast, and I would not use it in this particular recipe again. If I did, I would actually cook this separately, but I'll talk more about that later. Anyway, I have my Staub oven on my stovetop. I'm heating up oil. It's on quite a high heat because I want to sear this, and I'm just getting my roast ready. I'm topping it with paprika, brown sugar, mustard powder, parsley, seasoning salt, garlic powder, pepper. Did I say mustard powder? And I'm just going to rub this all over the roast. This is going to be a beautiful flavor. It's going to smell awesome, and it's going to add just a really beautiful taste to the broth of this soup. So I have it in here. I'm just quickly searing it. It's going to help again with the flavor, and then also to keep it nice and juicy, especially on the inside. I'm going to turn the heat down to low, cover it, and get started with the rest of this recipe. I preheat my oven to 400 degrees, and then I'm going to mince 3 cloves of garlic and dice half of an onion. I'm going to place this into my Staub, as well as about 2 tablespoons of butter. I'm going to cover and let this sit on a medium-low heat for, let's say, about 5 minutes. I pretty much just want that garlic to really cook, that butter to really melt. And then I'm gonna add in some tomato paste. This is just some frozen tomato paste that I had. I put it in a cereal bag. My parents taught me, always keep your cereal bags. They're incredible for just storing food. So that's what I have. I'm gonna add 2 tablespoons of tomato paste. It's gonna melt in here, as well as some beef broth. About 4 cups, about 946 mils, like what you would get in a Tetra Pak. I'm adding some liquid smoke, as well as some Worcestershire sauce. And then I am tasting it. It tastes so good. I'm gonna cover it again and bake it for 30 minutes. Take it out. It's incredible. I'm gonna baste the meat, whatever's sticking out, and then dice up 2 yellow potatoes, as well as 2 carrots. I'm gonna put that in. They're gonna start softening in that nice hot broth. And I'm also gonna add in 3 to 4 tablespoons of cornstarch to help thicken my broth as well. You're gonna reduce the heat in your oven to 300 degrees, and you're gonna cover and bake it again for another 30 minutes. So previously, I've used certain roasts that I can't remember the names of, but they are so easy to pull apart. I do this type of stew, and when everything is done, I can take 2 forks, easily pull it apart, and it's awesome. This was not the case. If I was to use this roast again for this stew, I would actually cook the roast on its own in a slow cooker for like 6, 7, 8 hours, pull the meat apart, and then add it to the broth when all was said and done. But it wasn't the case here. It took so much time to pull this meat apart. I did it. It was very difficult. So there's a little bit of caution for you. I take it out, it's all heated up, and it's pretty much ready to serve immediately. But P.S., the longer you wait, the better. I did also decide to add in a little bit of balsamic vinegar, a little bit of red wine vinegar. It adds a nice robust flavor, but that's optional, and it's ready to go. I serve it with some of my homemade sourdough soft bread, and this was a hit. It covered us for 2 dinners, and we actually still have a little bit left for lunch tomorrow as I am filming this. And it cost me, less than $30. Okay, I had to re-record this part because there was a spider crawling on me and I screamed. So, this is a golden squash soup. You're going to take a butternut squash, quarter it, put some nice big slices into it. It's going to help it cook and soften easier. And then onto that cookie sheet, it's all oiled. You're going to also add in a shallot. Sometimes you can add in a couple of these. You're also going to add in 5 to 6 garlic cloves. Some people might say, wow, that's a lot of garlic, but these soups really do go a long way. And to be honest, you could add way more garlic than what I do. I just have some sensitive tummies in my household, so I just want to be a little bit careful, if you know what I mean. I'm also going to add in some ginger. Again, just a small amount. This is probably about a teaspoon once it's all chopped up. It adds just a little bit of a zing. Of course, ginger is so good for you. Put everything onto the cookie sheet. Whatever else you want to add, go right ahead. This is so good with peppers. This is good with chilies. This is good with onion, but this is my kind of like favorite mix, let's say. I'm gonna rub everything with some extra olive oil, just drizzle it on top, and then season it how you like. I'm going to use seasoning salt, garlic powder, because garlic powder is such a go-to for me, and parsley. Put this in the oven at 375. You're looking to bake it for about an hour, sometimes even up to an hour and 20. You basically just want everything super soft for a nice creamy soup. So now you're just going to take a pot, you're going to add in that soft flesh of the butternut squash. I don't put the skin in. I know some people that will blend it in with the skin, which is totally cool, but I just can't. I don't know why. I'm like, no. So I take the skin off. I take the flesh itself and the carrots and the shallots and the garlic, everything else goes into the pot, and we're gonna start blending. So this part is so good, and I really like this soup because not only is it so quick and affordable, but it is simple. You're gonna add in 946 mils of your broth and grab your hand blender. If you don't have a hand blender, you can put all of this into a blender and it works great. I really just like having this hand blender on hand. I can link the one I'm using down below. I've used it for years and it has never failed me. I use it for soup, jam, whipping things. It's incredible. So you're gonna bring this up to a little bit of a heat because you want that broth to continue to soften your vegetables. Add in a can of coconut milk. You can also do coconut cream. I really like coconut milk here because I don't want this to be super creamy. I just want it to have a bit of a creaminess to it. Go ahead and add some turmeric. I'm gonna do about 2 teaspoons here, 1 teaspoon of smoked paprika because it's just so good, and a teaspoon of tarragon. I'm gonna add in 2 teaspoons of salt, a little bit of pepper to taste, and go ahead and stir this up on a medium-high heat. The smell is incredible. Salt and pepper it to taste further if need be. I like to bring a whisk into this just to make sure everything is fully blended, really smooth, and that is it. A lot of this I decided to freeze because I had so much, and then the rest we decided to enjoy for dinner. This soup cost me less than $20 to make, and it is a dinner for the future as well as a dinner for that night and a lunch for the next day. Okay, so I think this day was Friday. We're heading into the weekend. I want a nice pot of soup for the weekend. There's some sickness in the family, and I thought we need a rich garlic chicken soup. To a pot, add in some olive oil, add in 2 chicken breasts, as well as some seasoning salt, cover that pot, and let it cook. I like doing this in a pot, the soup pot, because it's gonna add extra flavor to everything else that I put in. I'm gonna hang out with my kids a little bit here, and then when the chicken is cooked, I will remove it. I actually have 4 chicken breasts in here. I'm only using 2 for the soup recipe. The others are for another recipe I had to tackle for the weekend, but that is not this video. I'm gonna take 1 large onion, fully dice it well. This is actually just a sweet onion that I had, and I was like, you know what, this will work well. So I'm gonna use that as well as some garlic. This is a rich garlic soup. So the more garlic you use, the better. Here, I'm using 8 cloves. You can even use up to 2 heads of garlic. That is not crazy to me. I really enjoy garlic, but I know some people can go, whoa. I also wanted to get some extra garlic into my children. It's just so good for their little bodies. Not a ton, but enough that it is nourishing them well. I'm going to also cut up some carrots here. I'm doing about 2 carrots, add it to my pot, give this a good stir. I want these veggies to soften. I want it to get pretty fragrant. And then I'm gonna add in a teaspoon of salt, 1.5 teaspoons of turmeric. I tried to mince about a teaspoon of ginger here. I wanted to see if I could do it. Update. I could not. I could not. It's too fibrous. I thought this is such a good idea, and then no. So next time I would probably just grate it or chop it up super fine. I'm also gonna add in some parsley, a little bit of rosemary. I wish I had a sprig of rosemary, which I didn't. So I added in just some dry stuff, knowing that I'm gonna remove it later because otherwise it can kind of be like sticks, if you know what I mean, but I love that flavor. I'm also gonna add in 946 mils of unsalted chicken broth, and we're going to stir that up and then let it get to a boil. And while I'm waiting for that to happen, I'm going to shred up my chicken, and while it's boiling, add it into my pot. Reduce that to a simmer once it's all in there, and then add in 2 tablespoons of, you can do lime juice or lemon juice. This is just gonna add a little bit more zing. I'm going to also add in some coconut milk. And of course you can use cream, cashew cream. I really like coconut milk here. I didn't show, but I did add in some peas, about 1/2 cup of frozen peas, and of course salt and pepper to taste. I am just taking a sieve here to remove some of that rosemary that just floats to the top. It's just a weird texture, but I love the flavor rosemary gives any soup. Next time I will either bag my dry rosemary so I don't have to fish it out, or I'll remind myself to actually buy some fresh rosemary sprigs from the store. But this worked really well. I serve pretty much plain. Some of my kids like some Parmesan or pepper on top, but I like it just like this. And this soup cost me less than $20. I know. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this week of meals. Let me know what you think of it down below in a comment, and I will see you later. Bye.